The coffee mug trembled slightly in his hand as he watched his wife zip up her suitcase. For 15 years of marriage, he'd learned to read the subtle signs, the way she avoided eye contact when nervous, how her voice pitched higher when she was excited about something she shouldn't be. "So, this retreat," he said carefully, setting down his mug. 2 weeks seems long for a professional development thing. She didn't look up from her packing, folding a sundress he'd never seen her wear to any work function. "It's comprehensive. Leadership training, team building, the whole package. Thompson really wants the senior staff to bond." Thompson. Her boss. He nodded slowly, watching her tuck in a pair of strappy sandals that definitely weren't conference appropriate. "And everyone from your department is going." "Most of us." She zipped the suitcase with a flourish that seemed too enthusiastic. "It's mandatory for anyone wanting to move up." He'd met her colleagues at company parties. There was Sarah from accounting, perpetually stressed and talking about her 3 kids. Old Jim from IT who collected vintage stamps. And then there was Ryan, her work husband, as she jokingly called him. The guy who understood her professional struggles, who stayed late with her on projects, who texted her funny memes during the day. Ryan going too. He kept his voice neutral, almost disinterested. Of course. His senior staff. She was checking her phone now, a small smile playing at her lips. "Car's here. I really need to go." The hug she gave him was brief, distracted. He smelled her perfume, the expensive one she saved for special occasions, and felt the first real stab of suspicion pierce his gut. "Love you," she called out, already halfway out the door. He stood at the window, watching the black sedan pull away. Then he opened his laptop. The company website was easy enough to navigate. He'd been there before, checking her schedule for times they could meet for lunch, looking up HR policies when she'd had that issue with her previous supervisor. Now he scrolled through the events calendar, the press releases, the internal memos that were publicly posted. Nothing. No retreat. No leadership conference. No team-building event scheduled for the next month, let alone one lasting 2 weeks. He called the main office line, rehearsing his story. When the receptionist answered, he made his voice confused, apologetic. "Hi, yes, my wife asked me to send some documents to her at the professional retreat, but I've misplaced the address. Could you help me out?" The pause on the other end was telling. "I'm sorry, sir. What retreat are you referring to?" "The leadership development thing. 2 weeks. She said it started today." Another pause. "Let me transfer you to HR." The HR representative was more direct. "Sir, we don't have any retreats scheduled. Our quarterly training sessions are always held on site, and they're never longer than 3 days. Who is your wife?" He gave her name. Heard the clicking of keys. She did request vacation time for the next 2 weeks. Personal leave. But no company event. He thanked her and hung up, his hands completely steady now. The trembling uncertainty had crystallized into something cold and clear. His phone buzzed. A text from her, landed safely. "Resort is beautiful. Might have spotty service, but I'll check in when I can. Love you." There was a photo attached. Azure water, white sand, palm trees swaying in the breeze. She was smiling, sunglasses pushed up on her head, looking more relaxed than she had in months. And in the reflection of her sunglasses, barely visible, was the unmistakable outline of a man taking the photo. He zoomed in, his jaw tightening. The angle was wrong for a selfie. Someone else was holding her phone. He spent the next hour searching. The resort in the background was distinctive, modern architecture, infinity pools visible in the distance. He found it in 45 minutes, a luxury couples resort in the Caribbean. Adults only. Romance packages featured prominently on every page. The prices made his stomach turn. She'd been saving money, she'd said, from her bonuses. For their future. For retirement. He checked their joint account. Then her personal one that she thought he didn't know about. A withdrawal of $8,000, made 3 weeks ago. For the next 2 weeks, he prepared. He didn't confront, didn't accuse, didn't let the rage consume him. Instead, He researched. He documented. He became methodical, almost clinical in his approach. He contacted a lawyer, just for a consultation. He organized their finances, made copies of everything. He prepared for every possible conversation, every excuse, every explanation. And he waited. The house felt enormous in her absence. Every room echoed with questions he couldn't answer yet, with suspicions he couldn't quite silence. He'd taken the week off work, telling his boss he needed time to handle some personal matters. It wasn't a lie. On day 3, he sat in his home office, surrounded by printouts and sticky notes covering the walls like a detective's murder board. Flight records. He'd found the booking in her email after guessing her password on the 3rd try. The resort reservation, made for 2 under Ryan's name. Credit card statements showing romantic dinners and couple spa treatments he'd never experienced with her. His phone rang. Her name appeared on the screen. "Hey, honey." Her voice was bright, carefree. Background noise suggested a restaurant, gentle music, the murmur of intimate conversation. "Just wanted to check in. How are things at home?" He closed his eyes, forcing calm into his voice. "Quiet. Missing you. How's the retreat?" "Oh, you know. Intense sessions during the day. But they're really valuable." A pause. "Anyway, I can't talk long. We have an evening seminar starting soon. Just wanted to hear your voice." "Conference food any good?" he asked, a small test. "Conference food is conference food." She laughed. "Edible but nothing special. Love you, got to run." He looked at the credit card statement in front of him. Last night, she charged $370 at a beachfront steakhouse. The night before, champagne and oysters at the resort's 5-star restaurant. He didn't confront the lie. Just added it to his mental list. That afternoon, he drove to her office. He'd called ahead, scheduling an appointment with Thompson under the pretense of planning a surprise for his wife. The boss was accommodating, welcoming him into his cluttered office with a firm handshake. "What can I do for you?" Thompson asked, gesturing to a chair. "I wanted to coordinate something special for when my wife gets back from the retreat," he said, watching Thompson's face carefully. "Maybe a celebration dinner with some of her colleagues." Thompson's expression didn't flicker with recognition. "I'm sorry, retreat? Which one?" "The 2-week leadership development program. She left Monday." The confusion on Thompson's face was genuine. "We don't have any programs like that. Your wife requested vacation time. She said she needed a break, wanted to travel a bit. I approved it last month." The confirmation hit harder than expected, even though he'd known. Hearing it spoken aloud made it undeniable. "My mistake," he said smoothly, standing. "Must have misunderstood. I'll surprise her another way." Before leaving, he stopped by Sarah's cubicle. She looked up from her computer, surprised but friendly. "Oh, hi. What brings you by?" "Just had a meeting nearby." "Hey, is Ryan around? Wanted to ask him something about a gift for my wife." Sarah's smile faltered slightly. "Ryan? He took vacation time this week. Won't be back for another week and a half." "Ah, right. The retreat." "Retreat?" Sarah looked confused. "No, he said he was taking personal time. Going on some tropical vacation, actually. Posted pictures on his Instagram. Looks amazing." His heart pounded. "Instagram? Yeah, want to see." She pulled out her phone, scrolling. "Here." The photos were carefully cropped, but he could see enough. White sand beaches. Sunset cocktails. A photo of the infinity pool he recognized from his research. And one photo, Ryan's arm around a woman whose face was carefully angled away from the camera, but whose sundress and sandals he'd watched his wife pack. "Looks nice," he managed. "Right? I'm so jealous. Stuck here while they're all off having adventures." "They." She'd said they. "Others went too." "No, just," Sarah stopped, her expression shifting as she realized her mistake. "I mean, I assume he went with friends." He didn't push. Just thanked her and left. That night, he sat in their bedroom, looking at the photos on their wall. Their wedding day, she'd been radiant, laughing as he dipped her during their first dance. Their honeymoon in Italy, exhausted but happy after climbing to the top of the Duomo. The house closing, both of them holding the keys and grinning like idiots. When had it changed? He scrolled back through his memories like searching through old files, looking for the moment things had shifted. 6 months ago, she'd started staying later at work. A year ago, Ryan had joined the company. 18 months ago, she'd become distant, distracted, always on her phone. The signs had been there. He'd just chosen not to see them. His phone buzzed. Another text from her, another photo. She was at the beach, cocktail in hand, looking genuinely happy in a way she hadn't looked at home in months. He replied simply, "Beautiful. Having fun. The best time. This break is exactly what I needed." He stared at those words for a long time. A break from what? From him? From their marriage? From the pretense? The next morning, he hired a private investigator. Not because he needed more proof, he had plenty, but because he needed documentation that would hold up legally. The investigator was professional, efficient, and surprisingly empathetic. "See this a lot," the man said, reviewing the evidence. "The work spouse situation. Starts innocent, crosses lines, next thing you know. How long will it take to get what I need? Already got most of it from what you've provided. I can have photographs, documented proof of cohabitation at the resort, and a detailed timeline within 48 hours. He approved the expense without hesitation. Days crawled by. He went through motions, eating because he had to, sleeping in fits and starts, responding to her cheerful texts with carefully measured replies. He told no one what he knew. Not his friends, not his family. The secret sat in his chest like a stone, heavy and cold. On day 9, he stood in their closet, surrounded by her clothes. Everything was still there, her favorite sweater, the jeans she wore on weekends, the practical work clothes that made up most of her wardrobe. Only the vacation clothes were gone, the ones she'd carefully selected for her retreat. He pulled out his phone and opened the folder where he'd been collecting evidence. Screenshots of text messages recovered from their shared cloud backup. Ryan's Instagram stories, showing carefully framed shots of paradise that never quite included faces but matched perfectly with her photos. Credit card statements highlighting matching charges at the same restaurants, same times, same amounts. The private investigator had delivered his report that morning. Professional, thorough, devastating. Photos of them walking hand in hand on the beach, entering the same hotel room, kissing by the pool at sunset. The investigator had even documented their dinner conversations. Apparently, they'd been discussing how much longer they could keep up the charade before asking for divorces. He sat on their bed, the bed they'd shared for 15 years, and allowed himself one moment of pure emotion. Not anger, not yet. Just grief. Mourning for what he'd thought they had, what he'd believed was real. His phone rang. His lawyer. "I've reviewed everything you sent," she said, her voice crisp and professional. "You have an ironclad case. With this evidence, especially given that she spent marital funds on the affair, you're in a strong position." They discussed options, strategies, timelines. His lawyer was practical, walking him through scenarios and outcomes. By the end of the call, he had a plan. That evening, he cleaned the house. Spotless. Did the laundry, organized the mail, handled all the tasks she usually complained he neglected. He wanted everything perfect for her return. On day 12, she called. Video chat this time. "Hey." Her face was sun-kissed, glowing with the kind of happiness that comes from living without consequences. "God, I miss you." The lie was so casual, so practiced. He wondered how many times she'd lied before, how many times he'd believed her. "Miss you too. When do you land?" "Day after tomorrow, evening flight. Can you pick me up?" "Of course. Can't wait to hear all about the retreat." Her smile didn't waver. "There's so much to tell you. This experience has been transformative." "I bet." He kept his voice warm, engaged. What was the most valuable session? She launched into an elaborate fabrication about leadership principles and team dynamics, details clearly pulled from some article she'd skimmed. He listened, mentally noting each lie, each creative embellishment. Anyway, she said, glancing at something off camera. I should go. Early session tomorrow. On day 13 of a 14-day retreat? They work you hard. You know how these things are. Squeeze every minute out of it. Another glance away. Was Ryan in the room with her? Love you. Love you, he echoed, and ended the call. He spent the next day in motion, consulting with his lawyer one final time, ensuring all financial accounts were protected, moving important documents to a safe place, preparing the house. His brother called, asking about a football game that weekend. He declined, keeping his voice normal despite everything. His mother texted, checking in. He responded with the same measured normalcy he'd maintained for 2 weeks. No one knew. He'd kept his pain private, his discovery secret. There was power in that, he realized. She thought she was getting away with it, thought he was the oblivious husband waiting at home. She had no idea what was waiting for her. The morning of her return, he went to the gym and worked out until his muscles screamed. Physical exhaustion to match the emotional kind. He came home, showered, dressed carefully. Jeans and a button-down, the casual outfit she'd always said she liked. He prepared dinner, her favorite, chicken parmesan with the homemade sauce she loved. Set the table with their good dishes, lit candles. To anyone looking in the windows, it would appear romantic, welcoming. Her flight landed at 6. He tracked it on his phone, watching the little airplane icon make its journey. On time. He sat in the living room, the investigator's report on the coffee table, and waited. At 7:30, he heard a car door. Her footsteps on the walkway. The key in the lock. She walked in, pulling her suitcase, and stopped when she saw him sitting there in the candlelight. Oh, this is... She smiled, surprised. What a welcome home. She looked different, relaxed in a way he hadn't seen in years. Her skin was tanned, her hair lightened by sun and salt water. She was wearing new clothes, expensive ones. A glow about her that came from 2 weeks of luxury and attention. How was your flight? He asked pleasantly. Long. I'm exhausted. She kicked off her shoes, moving toward him. This is so sweet. You didn't have to. Actually, I wanted to. He gestured to the dining room. Made your favorite. But before we eat, I have one question. She paused, reading something in his tone. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. Okay. He stood, picking up the investigator's report. The photos were visible on top, her and Ryan, unmistakably together, unmistakably intimate. Did you enjoy the resort you said didn't exist? The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened, closed. The suitcase handle slipped from her fingers, hitting the floor with a thud that echoed through the suddenly silent house. Time seemed to crystallize around them, each second sharp and distinct. He watched her face cycle through emotions like a time-lapse, shock, fear, calculation, and finally a desperate attempt at composure. What are you? She started, but he held up his hand. Don't. His voice was calm, almost gentle, which seemed to frighten her more than anger would have. I know everything. The resort in the Caribbean. Ryan. The $8,000. The romantic dinners. The couple's spa treatments. The fact that your company has no retreat, no conference, nothing. Just you and him, playing house in paradise while I waited here like an idiot. She sank onto the arm of the couch, her legs apparently unable to support her. How long have you known? Since the day you left. He set down the report, the photos facing up like accusations. You weren't as careful as you thought. Her hands were shaking now. She clasped them together, knuckles white. I can explain. Can you? He moved to the window, needing distance. Can you explain why you lied to my face every day for 2 weeks? Why you drained our savings for a romantic getaway with another man. Why you smiled and said you loved me while planning your next escape with him. It wasn't like that. Her voice cracked. It started as just friendship. He understood me in ways. Don't. The word came out sharper now. Don't you dare try to make this about your needs not being met or some other cliché justification. You made a choice. Multiple choices. Every day for what? 6 months? A year? She flinched. 18 months. The admission hit him like a physical blow. 18 months. A year and a half of deception, of living a double life, of looking him in the eye and lying without hesitation. Did you ever love me? He asked the question he'd been avoiding, the one that terrified him most. Yes. Tears were streaming down her face now. I do love you. That's what makes this so complicated. No. He turned to face her fully. It's not complicated. You don't destroy someone you love. You don't systematically lie to them, betray them, use their money to fund your affair. That's not love. That's convenience. She stood, moving toward him with her hands outstretched. Please, let me explain. Ryan and I, we were going to end it. After this trip, we were going to stop. I was going to focus on us again, on fixing our marriage. So this was what? A farewell tour. His laugh was bitter. One last romantic escape before you pretended to be a faithful wife. Did you think that made it better? I was confused. Her voice rose, defensive now. You've been so distant, so focused on work, we barely talked anymore. So you're blaming me. The calm was cracking now, anger seeping through. I'm responsible for your affair because I had the audacity to work hard to support us? Because I wasn't psychic enough to know you were unhappy when you never once told me. I tried to tell you. She was crying harder now. I tried to talk about us, about how disconnected I felt, but you were always too tired or too busy or too. When? He demanded. When did you try? Give me one specific conversation where you said you were unhappy and I dismissed you. She opened her mouth, closed it. Couldn't. That's what I thought. He moved back to the couch, suddenly exhausted. You rewrote history in your head to justify what you wanted to do anyway. Made me the villain so you could play the victim. It's easier that way, isn't it? Easier than admitting you just wanted something new and exciting and didn't care who you hurt to get it. That's not fair. Her voice was small now. Fair? He looked at her incredulously. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair that I spent 2 weeks thinking you were building your career while you were actually building a relationship with another man? Was it fair that you used money we saved together, money I contributed to fund your betrayal? Was it fair that you came home and let me hug you, kiss you, while you were still carrying the scent of him? She collapsed onto the couch, her face in her hands. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. He sat across from her, maintaining distance. Intentionally. Repeatedly. With full knowledge of what you were doing. You didn't accidentally fall into bed with him. You didn't mistakenly book a romantic resort. You planned this. Executed it. And the only thing you regret is getting caught. No. She looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. I regret all of it. I hate myself for what I've done. If I could take it back. But you can't. The finality in his voice made her freeze. You can't undo 18 months of lies. You can't erase the fact that you chose him over me, over us, over everything we built together. Silence fell between them, heavy and suffocating. The candles on the dinner table had burned down halfway, wax pooling around the wicks. What happens now? She finally whispered. He pulled out a folder from beneath the couch cushion. I've consulted with a lawyer. Filed preliminary paperwork. These are divorce documents. She stared at the folder like it might bite her. You decided without even talking to me. The way you decided to have an affair without talking to me. He pushed the folder across the coffee table. What did you think would happen? That I'd forgive and forget. That we'd go to counseling and work through your little mistake. I thought, she struggled for words. I thought we could at least try. 18 years together has to count for something. 15 years of marriage. 3 years of dating before that. He corrected automatically. And you're right, it did count for something. It counted enough that I was faithful. That I honored my vows. That I never once looked at another woman the way you obviously looked at him. So that's it. Her voice turned sharp with desperation. You're just going to throw everything away. No chance to fight for us. You threw it away. He stood, done with the conversation. You threw it away the first time you lied to me about working late. The first time you let him touch you. The first time you looked at our life together and decided it wasn't enough. Please. She was on her feet now, reaching for him. Please don't do this. We can fix this. I'll end things with Ryan completely. I'll do whatever it takes. Stop. He stepped back from her touch. Do you understand what you've done to me? Every moment we spent together for the last 18 months was contaminated by your lie. Every I love you, every kiss, every time we made love, all of it was fake. All of it was you pretending while you wished you were with him. It wasn't all fake, she insisted desperately. How would I ever know? He asked quietly. How would I ever trust another word that comes out of your mouth? How would I sleep next to you without wondering if you're thinking about him? How would I ever believe you're at work and not in his bed? She had no answer. You didn't just betray me, he continued. You destroyed the foundation of everything we had. Trust, respect, honesty, all gone. And you can't rebuild that. There's nothing left to build on. The next morning arrived with cruel normalcy. Sunlight streamed through the bedroom window. She'd slept in the guest room. He'd heard her crying through the wall at 3 a.m., and birds sang their indifferent songs. The world continued its rotation, unconcerned with the wreckage of his marriage. He found her in the kitchen, still wearing yesterday's clothes, eyes swollen from crying. She'd made coffee, a pathetic gesture toward normalcy. He poured himself a cup without speaking. I talked to Ryan last night, she said finally, her voice hoarse. Told him it's over. He sipped his coffee. Said nothing. I know that doesn't fix anything, she continued, desperate to fill the silence. But I wanted you to know. I'm done with him. Completely. You're missing the point. He set down his mug with careful precision. This isn't about choosing between us. This is about who you are. The kind of person who could do what you did. Ending it with Ryan doesn't change that. People make mistakes. Stop calling it a mistake. His patience, carefully maintained through the night, was fraying. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill or saying the wrong thing at a party. This was 18 months of calculated deception. That's not a mistake. That's a choice you made every single day. She wrapped her arms around herself, shaking despite the warm kitchen. So you won't even consider counseling? Won't even try? He thought about that. Really considered it. Could he sit in a therapist's office and work through this? Could he excavate all the pain and betrayal and somehow reconstruct something resembling a marriage? What would be the point? He asked genuinely. Let's say we do counseling. Let's say you convince me you're sorry, that you'll never do it again. Then what? I spend the rest of my life wondering. Every business trip, every late night, every time you smile at your phone. I'd be investigating instead of trusting. Paranoid instead of secure. Is that a marriage you want? Because that's the best case scenario. I could earn your trust back, she said, but the conviction was hollow. Could you? He met her eyes. Really? Because from where I'm standing, trust isn't something that gets repaired. It's like glass. Once it's shattered, you can glue the pieces together, but you'll always see the cracks. You'll always know it's broken. The doorbell rang, startling them both. He wasn't expecting anyone. Moving to the door, he found his mother standing on the porch, concern etched on her face. Your brother called me, she said without preamble. Said you sounded off yesterday. What's going on? He glanced back at his wife, who had retreated into the living room. Made a decision. Come in, Mom. There's something you should know. Over coffee, he told her. His mother listened without interruption, her expression progressing from shock to fury. When he finished, she looked at his wife with something approaching disgust. I trusted you with my son, she said simply. I welcomed you into our family. His wife tried to respond, but his mother held up a hand. I don't want to hear it. Excuses, justifications, none of it matters. You made vows. You broke them. End of story. After his mother left, with multiple hugs for him and not a single word for his wife, the house felt even emptier. Is that your plan? His wife asked bitterly. Turn everyone against me. I'm telling the truth, he replied. That's not the same thing. You want me to lie for you? To protect your reputation while mine is shredded? Over the next few days, others learned the truth. His brother, who offered to fly in from Seattle. Their mutual friends, who struggled to reconcile the woman they knew with what she'd done. Her parents, who called him apologizing, mortified. Ryan's wife, because of course Ryan had a wife, showed up at their door on day 3. She was tiny, fierce, pregnant with their second child. Did you know? She demanded. Not until after they left, he admitted, inviting her in. I'm sorry. They compared notes, shared evidence, found a strange camaraderie in their mutual betrayal. She left with copies of everything, determined to burn her own marriage to the ground. We're collateral damage, she said at the door. They wanted their fantasy, and we paid the price. His wife moved out that weekend. Found a hotel, then an apartment. The house felt simultaneously too large and claustrophobic without her presence. He walked through rooms they'd shared, memories ambushing him at every turn. The couch where they'd watched countless movies. The kitchen where she'd taught him to make her grandmother's sauce. The bedroom where they'd whispered plans for their future. His lawyer moved quickly. The evidence was overwhelming, the outcome inevitable. His wife tried to negotiate, to salvage something from the wreckage, but her position was weak. She'd spent marital funds on the affair. Documented evidence of infidelity. In their state, that mattered. She's asking for spousal support, his lawyer informed him during a conference call. On what grounds? He nearly laughed. She has a job. Probably still has Ryan, though I doubt his wife is going to make that easy. Technically, length of marriage entitles her to consideration. No. His voice was flat. She gets nothing. Fight for everything if you have to. I'm not funding her new life. 2 months after her return from the retreat, they sat in a mediator's office, lawyers flanking them like seconds in a duel. His wife looked diminished, hollowed out. Ryan had reconciled with his pregnant wife. His wife's job had become uncomfortable. HR had taken a dim view of the affair, given company policy. She was looking for new employment. We can still stop this, she said during a break, catching him alone in the hallway. It's not too late. He studied her face, looking for the woman he'd married. She was in there somewhere, beneath the desperation and regret. But that woman had made choices that revealed her character. And he couldn't unknow what he now knew. Yes, it is, he said gently. It was too late the moment you got on that plane with him. Maybe even before that. I just didn't know it yet. They signed the papers 3 months after her return. Division of assets, dissolution of marriage, end of story. She cried. He didn't. He'd done his crying in private, at 3 a.m., when the weight of betrayal felt like it might crush him. Walking out of the courthouse into autumn sunshine, he felt lighter. Not happy, not yet. But free. Free from the wondering, the suspicion, the constant calculation of whether she was lying. His phone buzzed. His brother. Beer tonight? Your place. He replied affirmatively, then stood on the courthouse steps, watching people flow past. Lives intersecting and diverging, each person carrying their own complicated stories. His story with her was over. The ending wasn't what he'd imagined when he'd said, I do 15 years ago. But it was honest. Finally, after 18 months of lies, everything was honest. He thought about the question he'd asked her that first night. Did you enjoy the resort you said didn't exist? That question had ended one life and begun another. Sometimes, he was learning, the right question was worth more than 1,000 answers. 6 months later, he sold the house. Too many ghosts, too many memories that ambushed him in the middle of the night. He bought a condo downtown, something modern and new with no history attached. His friends rallied. His family supported him. Slowly, painfully, he began to rebuild. He didn't date. Wasn't ready. The thought of trusting someone with his heart again felt impossible, like learning to walk on a broken leg. Maybe someday. Maybe never. He was learning to be okay with the uncertainty. One evening, organizing boxes in his new place, he found their wedding album. He almost threw it away, then stopped. This was history too. Painful, but real. He put it on a shelf, acknowledgement of what had been even as he built what would be. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Hello. It's me. Her voice was tentative, uncertain. I know I shouldn't call, but I wanted you to know. I'm in therapy. Really working on myself. Understanding why I did what I did. He waited, said nothing. I'm not asking for anything, she continued quickly. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation. I wanted you to know I'm trying to be better, to understand the person I became. Good, he said finally. I hope you figure it out. Do you ever think about, she started, then stopped. Never mind. That's not fair to ask. No, he agreed. It's not.